Today's video is on combining like terms and the distributive property. There are some vocabulary words that you really need to be familiar with, as we will be using them all year long, especially on the STAR test. The first one is the word term. We use terms all the time. A term can either be a number or a variable or a product of the number and one or more variables. So looking at the examples below, 3x or just x, or a negative number, -5, or 12, or even something as crazy as something like 15 x, y, z squared. That's a term. Okay, the next vocabulary word is coefficient. This one we also use constantly, so the sooner you understand what a coefficient is, the easier it'll be for you. So the coefficient is the number being multiplied to the variable. So for example, right here we have 3x. So 3 is our coefficient, and then x is the variable. How about this other one? We've got just a plain old x. There's no number being multiplied in front of it, is there? Actually, there is, and they'll trip you up on this all the time. The number in front of a plain old variable is 1. So if you see x, the coefficient is 1. It's understood, so it's not written. We don't have to write that there's 1x if there's only 1x. Okay, so look at the examples of some of the like terms. Like terms, you have to have both the same exact variable raised to the same power. So let's go ahead and pull that in. Like terms are terms that have the same variable. I'm going to put a parentheses s with the same power. So if you look, 2 and 3, those are like terms. They don't have a variable, so they're like terms. Or if we add a variable with the exact same power, 2x squared and 3x squared, those are like terms. What is not a like term, and I'm going to do it in red to really circle your attention on it right here. You got 4x and 4x squared. They both have the variable x, but they have different powers. They are not alike, they're not like terms, cannot be combined. Or if we look at this right here, not even the same variable, cannot combine them. Okay, so let's talk about our steps for combining like terms. Our goal in combining like terms is to get an expression to its simplest form. So we're going to need to get all of our like terms together. So we're going to use circles and different shapes and colors to help make sure that we get them all put together the correct way. So let's look at number 1. We have 5x and 3x. So I'm going to go ahead and put a circle around my like terms. I have a 5x and I have a positive 3x. Notice I circled the plus sign. It's very important when you are circling a term to go ahead and put if it's a positive or a negative within your circle. That way when you're combining, you'll get your values correct. So we just have two terms, they're exactly the same, 5x plus 3x. Those combine, and the answer to that is 8x. Okay, let's do this next one. We're going to circle, looks like we have some m's. So I'm going to circle the 5m, and I'm going to circle the -2m, and I'm going to circle the -3m. Then I've also got a plain old number, +8, and a plain old number, +6. So when I start combining these, I'm going to start by combining my m's. I've got +5 -2 -3. So 5 minus 2 is 3m minus 3m. My m's actually cancel out. So we'll just go ahead and show those being canceled out. And that leaves me with plus 8 plus 6. So my answer here is just plain old 14. Okay. On number 3, we've got A's, B's, and a 7. So I'm going to go ahead and circle my A's. And then I'm going to put a square around my B. And I think I'll put a diamond around my 7. So that tells me I have 3 different kinds of terms. So when I go ahead and combine them, I have 6A plus 8A is 14A. I only have one of the red boxes, so plus 4B plus 7. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and do number 4 and 5 on your own, and then you can come back and check your answers. Okay, go ahead and check your answers and make sure that you were able to get the same answers. All right, so now let's put this into practice as you would see it on tests and how you would use this. So this first question asks us to find the perimeter of the triangle. Well, if you can remember, the perimeter is just adding up 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides. So you're adding up all around the sides. So when we do this, we're going to use what they've told us the sides are. So we've got 3x, that's one of our sides, plus we have 7x minus 4, that's another one of our sides, plus we have 4x plus 12. So now we can go ahead and start combining our like terms. So we have a 3x, we have a positive 7x, we have a positive 4x, we have a negative 4, and a positive 12. So let's see what this gives us. 3x plus 7x is 10x, plus 4x is 14x, negative 4 plus 12 is plus 8. Okay, so let's do our last one. We've got a 4a, a negative 8a, we've got a 4b, and we got a positive 2b, and we've got a negative 3b squared. So we'll combine our blue circles. 4a minus 8a is negative 4a. Then we're going to combine our red squares. 4b plus 2b is 6b. And then our black diamond is alone, so minus 3b squared. Okay, think of distributing or distributive property like trick-or-treating. You go up to a house to go trick-or-treating. Everybody standing on the porch is the people inside the parentheses. And you've gone up to this lady's house. Now, is it fair if she only gives candy to the first person on the porch and everybody else gets nothing? No. You expect her to give something to everyone. In fact, that's her job. So what she's going to do is she's going to distribute her candy to both the X and to the 2. She draws her arrows to make sure every kid on the porch gets their candy. So what this ends up being is 3. She gave it to the X plus 3 times the 2. So 3x plus 6. It's been properly distributed. So the big things I want you to remember is I always want you to draw the double arrows, or triple if there's 3 kids on the porch. Make sure everybody on the porch has these arrows. So on this first one, we're going to draw our arrows. It tells us to make sure. On this second one, we're going to draw our arrows. Important. Nobody is too cool that they don't draw their arrows, because this is what stops the mistakes. These are the critical mistakes that the STAR test loves to look for, where you forget to give every kid on the porch the candy. Okay, so we're going to do number 8 together. So we've drawn our arrows. 3 times 4m plus 3 times negative 7. Notice I had to take the entire operation, the minus sign and the 7, and put them together. So we have 12m And plus 3 times negative 7 is minus 21. Okay, I'm going to have you do number 9 and number 10 on your own, and also number 11. But before you do number 11, let's talk about what's being distributed, because all we have here is a little minus sign. That means you're distributing negative 1. So the negative 1 is what you're sending to everybody on the porch. Pause the video, do number 9, 10, and 11, then turn it back on and check your answers. Okay, make sure you take time and check that you got these answers. I'm going to go ahead and box them in so you can see where the answers are. And if not, pause the video and look at the work. Okay, and then we're just going to have some more practice. The reason we're doing these practices is to show you some of the different things that you need to be aware of. So just how we were talking about the lady on the porch distributing candy to everybody on the porch, would the next door neighbor or the lady from down the street see kids at somebody's porch and bring her candy and try and give them candy also? No, that's just not likely. So when you're looking at this, that's the neighbor down the street. She has no candy to give. These are the people standing on the porch of the number 2. So that's all that's going to be distributed. Now on number 13, same thing. The 5 is the neighbor down the street. He has nothing to give to the kids on this lady's porch. So he's not going to be distributed. But then we're going to have to combine the like terms. So pause the video, and I want you to do number 12 and number 13 on your own. Once you get everything distributed and combined, start the video and check your answers. Okay, look at the work. Make sure you drew both of your double arrows, your double rainbows. Make sure that you didn't let the lady down the street try and give candy to the kids on the porch. And on number 13, double check that you got your signs correct. If you didn't get the exact answers that I have shown here, pause the video again at this point and look and see where you went astray. The big thing about distribution is there's lots more errors or lots more room to make mistakes. As we get into more and more steps, there's just room to make little mistakes with negatives, with multiplication. Okay, so let's talk about 14 and 15. On 14, the negative 3 only has one porch to distribute. The negative 3 is only going to distribute on this porch right here. What's going to distribute to this other porch? This other porch is going to have a negative 1 distributed to it. So you're going to be distributing a negative 1 to that and making your combinations. And then when you're working on 15, again, just think of your porches. You got this porch that was being dealt with, you got this porch that's being dealt with, and this neighbor must have had their light off because nobody's come to their house. So do your distributions. It'll be kind of big. And then combine your like terms. Just take it one step at a time and you'll be fine. Pause the video, go ahead and do this work, and then turn it back on to check your answers. Okay, take a minute. Look over all the steps for 14 and 15. There's an awful lot of steps involved. If you didn't get the answer, pause the video and look at each one of the steps to see if you can figure out where you went astray and get it corrected. Okay, now for our very last example, I'm going to move this way on up because it's going to take a lot of room. We're going to work through this one together. So we've got negative 2 being distributed to the 6x and to the negative 3. We have the 5x by himself. He's not got anybody on his porch, no trick-or-treaters. Then we also have our negative. So our negative 1 is being distributed to the 12 and to the negative 22x squared. So let's just start. We have negative 2 being multiplied. Our first arrow is times 6x, plus we have negative 2 being multiplied times negative 3. Now then, like we said, the 5x isn't doing anything. He's just sitting there. So we're going to go ahead and just bring him down just like he is. Now let's distribute our negative 1 to everything. So we have negative 1 being distributed to 12, plus we have negative 1 being distributed to negative 22x squared. All right, so now let's multiply out what we have. I'm going to do this in black. We got negative 2 times 6x is negative 12x. We have negative 2 times negative 3 is plus 6. Then we bring down our 5x. He's not hurting anybody. We have negative 1 times positive 12. Negative times positive is negative 12. And we have negative 1 times negative 22x squared. Negative times negative is positive 22x squared. Okay, so now that we've multiplied, we've distributed everything, we've multiplied it, now we can start combining our like terms. So we have an x, negative 12x, we have a positive 5x. Do I circle this 22x squared? Is that a like term to the other two? No, it's not a like term. Why not? Because it has a different power. The two I've circled are x to the first power. This 22 is x to the second power. They're not like terms. So now let's do my numbers. We got plus 6 and minus 12. And then we just figured out that this 22x squared is its own term. So he's going to have his own design. Okay, so let's write out what we've got. Negative 12x plus 5x is negative 7x. Positive 6 and negative 12 is minus 6, and then plus 22x squared. Okay, so that's it. Just keep your wits about you when you see these complicated ones and work on one step at a time. I'll see you in class.